Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Rate the Transfer Rumour video. This is the show that rates the transfer rumour, and Daz is going to give each transfer potential a rating between 1 and 10. 1 thinking he hasn't a chance in hell of joining this particular club. 10, there's every chance in hell it's going to happen. I don't think you've ever given a 1 or a 10, Daz.
Oh, surprisingly not, no, but sure, there's a first for everything, isn't there?
It's the first for everything. I wonder if it'll happen in this show. Let's see what happens. Well, the first one we're going to get started off with, Daz, is a player that we actually had him on one of the shows a couple of weeks ago. By the way, guys, if you haven't seen any other Rate the Transfer Rumour shows, go and have a look at that. We got one actually came through recently where Colin Whelan actually did move the Bows.
Yeah,
Um,
delighted with that. What
yeah,
signing that is. I'm very happy with that now.
I'd say you're happy with that. Hopefully
Yeah.
now Colin can stay fit because I think he's a really, really good striker personally. But yes, this player appeared on the show a few weeks ago. Was linked to a different club. Now I have him linked with another club, Daz. It's Danny Grant. He left Bohemians. And guess who I'm linking him to this week? I'll let you have a guess. Come on.
I want to say Sligo.
No. Shelburne.
No.
Your nemesis from North Dublin.
Shelburne.
Yeah. He wouldn't be the first in the
Oh,
last few years if it was to happen to have moved from Phibsborough
yeah.
to Drumcondra and basically being successes a lot of the time as well. Let's be honest on that. But Danny is a player that he's. I think he's suffering from a lack of confidence. He's had a lot of injuries. You just wonder would it move to Shells where they seem to get the best out of a lot of players. He's linked up before with Wilson, I believe, Tyreek Wilson as well.
Yeah.
That's another one, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments there. But you just wonder the idea of playing under Damien Duff, who also was a winger as well, and obviously a world class winger, could be very appealing to Grant. How do you see that one?
God, yeah. Shelburne would have been one of the last teams I would have put him on. That's a very interesting one there now. Look, when you look at that Shelburne team, I actually think I texted you about it when they won the league. I was like, there's like 4 or 5 ex-Bows players that played a part in their league winning team. All recent Bows players in the last 3 seasons, they all played a part. Like
Quite a few of
it's
them would have got
sickening.
a bit of abuse, as I would suggest.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Not naming any names now in
Mm.
particularly, but
Yeah.
yeah. But look, it worked out for them. Look, they're after winning the league now. Like they've done really, really well at all them players that went. Look, it would be a very good option for any player really in the league at the minute who wants to go to Shelbourne and doing a lot of good things. They just won the league, Champions League football. Damien Duff, there's a lot of really good stuff going on there. Like it'd be a hard one to turn down if it is true. And like I think Damien Duff is a terrific manager. In terms of Danny Grant going there, I really wasn't expecting this one. It's a hard one. Like well, anyone who's a Bulls fan knows what Danny Grant could do on his day, and
Mm.
like what a great player he is, and it'd be sickening to see if he went to Shells and unlocked his potential again, and it came back to haunt us, which has happened with players in the past. They've came back and they've scored against us and played really well against us, and couldn't.
Ali could.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, just something happened to me
but
there. I don't know what it was.
but, but yeah, no. Danny Grant, yeah, I wasn't expecting that one at all. I would say, there is a chance Danny Grant might want to stay in around Dublin. He might be old enough for a Dublin club, but when you look at the Dublin clubs, obviously it's not Bows. It's probably not going to be Pats. Then that leaves kind of Shells and Roamers that are in the Premier. It's a tough one. Oh God, I wasn't putting that. It's kind of hard to put a number on this one. Um, I'm going to put, I'm going to put it as a six. I think it's more than 50-50. Like he's Dublin based, I think, and Shelburne, as I said, have signed a lot of Bulls players in the past, and I think Damien Duff is very good at getting the most out of players, and I think he's really good at doing that. And I think once you have a manager that can do that, he can sign a lot of players that a lot like might have had potential in the past and didn't unlock it at the club and can bring them in and he'll do well. So I'm going to put as a six.
Interesting. So Danny Grant to Shelburne, 6 out of 10. From one winger onto another winger, and this man is Dan Kelly, who's at Derry City. Linking to him to your club, Bohemians. Bows are in
Yes.
the market for a right winger. Dale Rooney's really on the left. I know they switch over a bit, but generally they're looking for a right winger. Dan Kelly, I wouldn't say a very successful spell, to be fair, at Derry City. I think, look, he struggled with injury in the last few years at Dundalk and at Derry as well, but when he's come in at Derry, it just it just hasn't worked for him now. You can talk about, there could be a lot of reasons to that. It could be the football club, Derry City as well. I'll give you an example. Brandon Kavanagh was at Derry City the season before. Look at the season he's had at Pats.
Yeah,
Could the same thing happen with Dan Kelly? He's obviously a former Bows
yeah,
player basically as well, so that's a big thing as well. And it seems to me with that Bows are really trying to target players in the league. You mentioned Colin Wheel started the show. Just as we came on this show, Niall Moran has been signed for Sligo Rovers
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So there's two players straight away in from the league, something the Bows haven't been doing regularly. But Dan Kelly, experienced player, again, if you can get the man fit, he's got lightning pace, he can score goals and can be quite creative. So a bit like Grant in terms of the shells, can Bows unlock his abilities again?
I think firstly, I'm very happy to see the powers that be at Bohemian Football Club finally have some cop on a sense and are signing players early, not the day of the season starting. Absolute madness what we've been doing.
Mm.
Madness. We won't get into
That
that
usually
today, but
without deviating too much, that usually happens when you're going for a lot of foreign signings, to be
yeah,
honest with you.
it
Yeah.
does. But I'm very happy that we're hitting the ground running with some really good signings, players in the league. Whelan, for example, and I think I actually really was disappointed when Dan Kelly left Balls. I remember when he was playing for Dundalk against us and he was warming up and fans were giving it to him and he was giving it back. It was good. He seemed like a funny guy and a good guy, and as you said, I think he's very athletic. He's powerful. He's strong, and he kind of fits the bill of what I would want in a winger. And he might know Whelan as well. Obviously, they've been training together, playing together. I think that could be a good partnership. And obviously, Rooney on the other side then had a lot of assists this season too. Like I would really like to see this one come in. And again, I really wasn't expecting that one either. When you said this player's going to your club, I was like, what? So I would really like this one. But again, he's going to have, I would think, a lot of teams in for him. I would like to say that. I'd like to think that. I don't think, I would think it'd be like a Rovers maybe or a Pats, but I do think, next best ones would be Bows and all that. And if we can offer him a lucrative enough contract and he can come back to the club, I think he could hit the ground running and have a really good season for us. And I, my heart's telling me it's high, but my head's kind of telling me. So, look, I would be interested. I'm going to put at 7. I really hope he comes to the club. I think the fans will be delighted to have him back. And I think it's great that we're targeting players in the league once again. I think he's got a lot to offer. And I think he'll put it to ground on us and be a very good player for us. That's a very exciting one if it comes up. So I really hope if you're watching this, Dan, Kelly, please come to the club. Yeah, so what is a 7 out of 10, hopefully.
Interesting stuff. So Dan Kate the Bowles, a 7 out of 10 says, Daz. Now, this other player was at Shelburne this season on loan, part of the Shamrock Rovers squad. It's Liam Burt, linked with a move to Waterford FC, and he did play under Keith Long at Bowes, and I would say played the best football of his career under Keith Long at Bowes as well. But it doesn't look like he's gone back to Shells, Daz, if I'm honest. And I don't think he'll be going back to play for Shamrock Rovers. So it looks like he's probably looking for a move. The question is, would Waterford be the club that might actually secure his signature?
Yeah, again, that's a very interesting one too. And Liam Burt obviously did a dirty one on us and went to Rovers at the time and he had a very good season with us. So the first one he did it, he went dirty on us. He did a Rangers to Celtic, whoever Celtic Rangers, whatever it was too. So he has no qualms about where he moves. So he will go anywhere. And look, he might as well. There's money in the league. He might as well go. Who's going to pay him the most? I don't blame. You can't blame him. You can't blame him. But in terms of Waterford, another very interesting one. I think firstly Waterford have money. I think they obviously are in the market for a winger after losing power. I'm almost sure that Phoenix Patterson hasn't signed back with him either. I'm not sure about that. Someone can correct us in the comments, but I think he's been released. So they haven't
Connor
signed a contract
Parsons has
back.
gone from Waterford, and Patterson, I believe, was on the transfer list, but I don't think he's released
Mm,
necessarily.
right. Yeah.
But then again,
So
Burt, I always seen Burt as more of a number 10 than a winger, if I'm honest, when he's playing his best football.
yeah, look, I think he was a really good player. Like he's really good. He was really good at balls. I thought he had a few good games with Rovers too. And his first time he could play on either side of the wing. He could play behind the striker.
Mm.
He's a good technical
Yeah.
player, and he is a very good player. And he probably could play with nearly any team in the league. And I'm sure most teams would probably want him, take him. In terms of Keith Long, that's a very interesting one because he's played with him. He came into the league with Keith Long. He played very good football with him, and obviously earned his big money move to Rovers. Then at the time, obviously both couldn't offer anywhere near what he was going to get at Rovers. I think I'd put this one reasonably high. I think I'd put it as an eight, and I'll tell you
Hmm.
why.
Good one.
Yeah, I think because he's not going to go back to Bowes. He's not going to go to Rovers. Pats have enough strikers.
For those players. Yeah,
He's played with Keith Long. That kind of only really leaves really maybe Cork or Derry could offer him a big contract, but I don't think Derry are going to be in for him. It's hard to know. It's hard to he could easily move back to Scotland, but
yeah.
I put it as an eight. I think he's a Keith Long player. I think he'd get him back playing to what he was at again, and I just think he'd really fit Waterford, fit the team, and they're obviously reshaping their attackers at the minute. Players have gone, like we mentioned. So, yeah, I think this would be one that kind of ticks nearly every box for a player in the club. So I'd put as an eight. And look, if he does move to Waterford, best of luck to him. I think he'd do reasonably well there, and the fans could be really happy to get him.
Right, so Liam Burt to Waterford is an 8 out of 10. Two more now. This player, I believe he might have been on the show before. I can't exactly remember. I think he was, but Alex Nolan, winger at St. Patrick's Athletic, he's been linked with a lot of clubs,
Yeah,
um, on Twitter, etc. And I know there's a few clubs that have showed interest in him. But the one I'm throwing out here is actually Shelburne again. A player that I think is a bit of a raw diamond. He's got excellent ability, I think. I think he's a year or two away from possibly being a very, very good player. At Pats, you've got Jake Mulroney, you've got Zach Elbazetti, and now they've added Simon Kerr, even Keane Levy. So there's no real way through there. Shelburne are definitely in the market for wingers. We spoke about Ryan O'Kane a couple of weeks ago as well. And obviously, I mentioned Danny Grant. Nolan can play left and right. And when he's at his best as well, I have to say he's quite exciting. He's a risky, let's say risky winger. Like he takes on players. Like, I don't
yeah,
see him as
yeah.
risky personally, but he's not a safe player. You know what I mean? And I like that in his game. But yeah, I mean, a rough diamond again. The Damien Duff factor. He's only a young man, 21, 22. So how do you see that link to Shells?
Yeah, I think he's 22, and like you said, I completely agree with all that. Like he is, once he gets the ball, he kind of looks to go forward. And a lot of players tend to play the safe ball, the sidewards ball, the backwards ball, whole possession.
Doesn't get paid enough, to be honest.
Not be that player that loses the ball. Have that player with a good pass percentage in the match. I don't want that. I want to see players going to take on players, make
Especially in the
things
final
happen,
third,
attack
Daz.
players.
Especially in the
Yeah,
final third. If you have to recycle, you have to recycle. But if
that's
your
it. Yeah,
player's one
yeah.
and one, I'd rather my player try to take on the player. If he lost the ball, he lost the ball.
That's exactly it. And I think Duffer looks for players like that, and he kind of
Mm,
when we were at the match there a few months ago, we were
mm,
looking at him. He was urgently forward, forward, forward. Like, I think that would suit his game
mm.
a lot. And I think if he was in the team like Bowes, he might potentially struggle if you're going to go on what we had this season with how much we lost possession and conceded goals. It would probably wouldn't fit us as well. But in terms of Duffer getting him, I think it's a really good shout. I think he would really fit the Shelburne team. I think the fans would like him. I think, he might not necessarily start every game, but he'd certainly play and he'd learn a hell of a lot. European football as well. I think there could be quite a number of teams in for him. Again, I don't think there'd be any really real top teams. Obviously, Shelburne won the league, so in my opinion, they are a top team at the minute.
Mm.
But they are. But I have seen him linked with Shelburne the last few weeks at a number of clubs. But I think I'd put this one at a 70. I think he's definitely going to get a contract offer from Shelburne as other clubs. I think he'll take his time looking over contracts to
Mm,
see where he wants to go to.
mm.
Like you said, he is young. He does a lot of things we like to see, and he could be a real Damien Duff kind of player. I'd put it as a seven. I think it's reasonably likely that it could happen. Yeah, seven.
7 out of 10, that's interesting stuff. Now, finally, this is a player that we had on, I think, in the last transfer window, and there was definitely interest from this particular club, but the interest has been ramped up now. I would suggest Adam O'Reilly, Derry City to St. Patrick's Athletic. Again, as I mentioned all those months ago, he was a former Pats player. He's out of contract with Derry. He hasn't signed a contract as of now. We've got Stephen Kenny at Pats, and their end of the season will give them a lot of leverage. I would suggest when they're talking to players too. I'd argue he played his best football at Pats than he did at Derry City or even Waterford. Even though he played well at those clubs, I thought his best football was at St. Pat's. And I just wonder, could he be swayed by Mr. Kenny in a return to Inchicore? What do you think of that one?
Yeah, that's very interesting stuff there. This might be the first video where I haven't given a rating below six for every player. I think everything you said there, is very true. Firstly, it's no secret that Derry are looking for a clear out. They've a number of players have left the club, look to be reshaping their football on the fields. Their players, their team, if you will. They're going to lose a lot of players, probably bring in a lot of players to a complete rehaul. Sometimes that's needed. A reset can be needed at times. It might be gone a bit stale there, but in terms of his best football was definitely at Pats. There was no question about that. I think he really kind of shone there. He was really a player that kind of stood out in that team. Once he got the ball, you knew he was going to do something with it, either keep possession or go forward. He didn't really make many mistakes. And I think once you have a player in the middle of the park that doesn't make many mistakes, you're going to do well because he's a safe player. And I think that's something that he kind of does a lot of time. He's really good on the ball and he's intelligent. Again, this is why I can't put below six. Like I'm gonna have to put up as an eight. I just think he's gonna, especially like like a Stephen Kenny, like
Mm.
why would you not want to play for him if you're in the League of Ireland? If he comes in for you, like you're gonna want to play for him. Like looking how the Pats team changed and he came in, how he brought in the wing play with the other players. He brought in Abulzetti and a few other players. 9 games, win in a row. Like Pats could really do something next season, and I think they're gonna do really well. I think he would really slot into that team. Imagine him and Chris Forrester beside each other in midfield right
Jamie
now.
Lennon as well.
Jimmy Lennon, like if he can get back to his very, very best,
Mm.
slot him with them.
That's one of the points I'd make. I think Pats are a little bit weak in terms of their quality of squad depth in midfield. Like, if you Lennon
Definitely,
and
yeah,
Forrest
yeah.
are very good players, but you need to add more to that and have a bit of competition in the midfield as well, I think. And Adam would definitely do that. Like, he's a different, excuse me, joking. He's a different type of player as well. I thought when he was at Pats, he really fed off the energy of the home crowd and kind of like the N'Golo Kante of the league in a way. He's very good at snapping at people's heels when he's at his best and can get around the pitch well. So just they need more options in there as well, and I think he would fit the bill brilliantly. To be fair.
Oh yeah, definitely would. And the fact out that he has history with the club and how he has,
Mm,
the fans really liked him, and I know a
mm,
lot of fans were sorry to see him go. And he could come home and really excel. I think that sometimes players need to get a reset in their career, and if they've had a really good spell with a former club, it can be a good move back. Obviously, Bows tried that route. It didn't really work for players, but it did work for us here in the Divide. They came back and they had really well since they came back with us. Yeah, I just think again, if you're looking at a checklist of boxes that ticks everything, he kind of ticks it for the player and the club as to what
mm.
they want, what he would want. I'm going to put it as I'm going to put it as an eight key. I think this is nearly certain. I think if he's going to go into any club, it's going to be Pats. Like Rovers have a lot of options in midfield. I think I could see him signing for Pats over Shelburne. I think Shelburne certainly offer him a contract. Both are completely stocked in midfield. After that, there's not a whole lot of options really, unless he's going to move up six elsewhere, which is unlikely. So if you're going to look at it from that perspective, I think Pats is the one. So 8 out of 10 for me.
Brilliant stuff, Daz. 8 out of 10. Adam O'Reilly, St. Patrick's Leg. We're going to leave it there. Thanks very much, Daz, for coming on. Brilliant stuff. Some high ratings this week, lads. In the comments, let us know what your ratings are out of 10 as well, and would you like to see these particular players at your club? Please subscribe and take it handy. Good night. Thank you, Daz.
Cheers, Key.